It's time once again for another installment of Victory Screen Origins, where we look at every character's victory poses in Smash Ultimate and pick apart their references for each. This time we're tackling the characters who all debuted in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, so let's get to it. But first, it would be awesome if you guys could subscribe. It really makes the serotonin in my brain go brrr. First, we have Meta Knight's left victory pose, where he slashes the Galaxia a few times. After this pose ends, Meta Knight twists up and goes off screen. This last portion is based on Meta Knight's defeat animation, which has been his defeat animation in pretty much every Kirby game since Kirby's Adventure. It's kinda weird that they chose his defeat animation for one of his victory poses, but I guess this was really the only place that they could use it. His up victory pose sees Meta Knight fly in, land, and strike a pose. The pose Meta Knight lands in is rather similar to his render for Smash Ultimate, with some minor differences. Meta Knight flying in for the victory screen could also possibly be the final remnant of Meta Knight's ability to fly back in the Brawl days. His current up special isn't really flying, while this victory certainly is, so it could be a nod to his former up special. Finally, we have his right victory, which is largely an original pose that sees Meta Knight slice with the Galaxia. Meta Knight's victory theme is a more rock or metal style remix of the Kirby dance theme, which matches up with Meta Knight's more edgy persona, as opposed to Kirby's victory theme, which is more upbeat and happy. Next up, we have Pit, the second newcomer for Brawl. For his left victory screen, Pit performs a couple of slashes before striking a pose. The pose he hits is also quite similar to Pit's render for Ultimate, again with some minor differences here and there. Next up is his up victory pose, where he jumps up and then finishes off with a peace sign while saying victory. The jumping up is original to the animation, but certainly matches up with Pit's personality. The rest of the animation, including the voice line, is inspired directly by the ending of Kid Icarus Uprising, where Pit does exactly this at the end of the game. And finally, for his right victory, Pit spins his bow around before ending it with it facing towards the screen. The spinning is similar to his neutral air in his moveset, or even his side special from Brawl. And lastly, Pit's victory theme is an orchestral remix of the main Kid Icarus NES theme. Next, let's talk Zero Suit's Samus. All of Zero Suit's poses are original animations for Smash, based on her characteristic of being far more agile and acrobatic than when she's in her power suit. Her left pose sees her swing her plasma whip around. For her up victory screen, she uses flip jump, does another flip, and then lands with her blaster at the ready. Finally, her right victory has her stand on one leg while rotating her leg in a big circle and ending with it pulled close to her body. Her victory theme is the same as regular Samus, a bigger remix of the jingle that plays when Samus receives an upgrade in the Metroid series. Next, we have the Biker Plumber combo Wario. For his left victory pose, Wario steps forward, pats his belly, and immediately lets a fart burst out while sort of gasping in surprise. The animation continues with him sniffing the fart, I guess to see how bad it smells. While not really based on anything specific, it's built off of Wario's waft move and the sort of archetype of the gross guy that Wario fits in Smash. For his up victory, Wario does a donut on his bike, shouts out yes, and holds up 3 fingers. The bike is also taken from his moveset, which itself was introduced for Wario in the WarioWare series. Wario holds up 3 fingers because it resembles the letter W, naturally standing for Wario. And finally, we have an original pose for his right victory, which sees Wario absolutely lose his mind with laughter, falling over and rolling all over the floor. This isn't taken from anywhere either, but it totally fits Wario's personality in Smash, like he would just be an absolute dick and laugh at you when he wins. Wario's victory theme was initially a Smash original back in Brawl, however it became the basis for the theme of Stone Carving City and Wario Land Shake It. Next up is your boy Solid Snake. For Snake's left victory screen, he performs a couple of kicks before striking a pose with both hands at the ready for fighting. This pose is based on the final boss fight from Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, where Old Snake fights in hand-to-hand combat against Liquid Ocelot. The finishing pose is similar to Snake's default fighting position, and the kick and spin kicks are a part of his moveset used during the fight. For his up victory pose, Snake is in his iconic crouched position while speaking into his codec, saying "Colonel, mission accomplished." The codec is a device used as a means of communication, with Snake able to communicate back to those at base. This function was further expanded upon in the codec Easter egg, with Snake contacting his team for information on who he might be fighting. For his right victory pose, Snake crawls, does his somersault dash attack before crouching and speaking into the codec, once again keeping the reference of using this to communicate. Both the crawl and the somersault are used by Snake in the Metal Gear Solid series as a means of moving around undetected. Snake's victory theme is a shortened arrangement of the main theme for Metal Gear Solid. However, Smash didn't originally create this arrangement. Instead, it's been present since Metal Gear Solid 1, with a version of it serving as the VR Training Complete jingle and another variation serving as the Game Over jingle.
Excellent, Snake.
Next up we have Ike. For his left victory, Ike slashes Ragnell twice before resting it on his shoulder. This victory screen is pretty much Smash original, but the final pose also serves as one of Ike's idle poses in the game, just missing the sword slashes. For his up victory, Ike slams Ragnell into the ground, then proceeds to cross his arms. This is also one of Ike's taunts, and it could be taken from Ike's battle start animation in Radiant Dawn, where the sword begins in the ground before Ike pulls it out. Finally, we have Ike's right victory screen, which sees Ike perform Ether. Ether is of course Ike's up special, but it's also one of the skills that Ike can utilize in both Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. Ike's victory theme is the same as Marth and Roy's, a short rendition of the Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light title theme, which has since become the overall Fire Emblem theme. So next we have Pokemon Trainer, who is somehow complicated and rather straightforward at the same time. First, let's talk about the trainers themselves. As with all other victory poses, the trainer has a unique animation for all three variations. However, this is doubled by the fact that there are both male and female trainers, and they each have their own somewhat unique animations, though they basically hit the same animation beats and fit the same roles. But fortunately, these 6 animations are all pretty much Smash original, though the personality of the characters are borrowed from the way trainers behave with their Pokemon in the anime. For Male's left victory, he tosses his Pokeball up and catches it before striking a pose with the ball outstretched. For the female trainer, she tosses the ball up in the air as well, but does a little spin before striking her pose. For the male trainer's up victory, he encourages the Pokemon performing its move before posing with his fist up in the air. The female trainer does something similar for hers, however ending with her fist raised, but a little lower. Finally, for the right victory pose, both trainers will hug their Pokemon, with this animation being unique both for the male and female trainers, but also for whichever Pokemon is with them. And now for the Pokemon. The large majority of these are Smash original as well, where again the personalities are inspired by how Pokemon behave in the Pokemon anime. For left victory, Squirtle will jump up in the air and do a spin on his shell before popping back up and posing. For the up victory, Squirtle will perform Water Gun, one of his signature moves, before raising his hand in the air to pose with his trainer. And finally, for the right victory, Squirtle will give his trainer a little hug. For Ivysaur's left victory, she performs a backflip before posing with the trainer. For the up victory, Ivysaur performs one of her signature moves, Vine Whip, before striking a cool pose with the vines at the ready. And of course, for her right victory, Ivysaur is hugging the trainer. Charizard's up victory pose sees him stomp and roar into the sky, not too different from one of his taunts. For his up victory, Charizard performs Flare Blitz down on the ground before posing with the trainer. This victory was previously in Smash 4, performed only by Charizard as the trainer was of course absent. And the right victory is Charizard getting a little hug and pet from his trainer. And that is all of Pokemon Trainer screens. 3 poses, 3 Pokemon, 2 trainers, for a grand total of 18 unique victory animations. The Pokemon Trainer's victory theme is the same as every other Pokemon character, a short rendition of the title theme from the original Pokemon games. For Diddy Kong's left victory, he fires off a few rounds of his Peanut Pop Gun, does a somersault, and then fires once more. While largely Smash original, the Peanut Pop Gun is a part of his moveset, and by extension comes from his weapon used in Donkey Kong 64. For his up victory, Diddy hovers with his rocket barrels, spins around, and lands as the barrels fly away. He then faces the camera doing a silly little dance. This is an original based mostly on Diddy's personality in Smash, doing a little silly monkey dance. The rocket barrels are also a part of his moveset, again based on the same item used in Donkey Kong 64. Finally, Diddy does a bunch of acrobatics for his right victory, doing a flip and landing on his hand while clapping with his feet. Again original to Diddy Kong and largely just inspired by Monkey's behavior in various media. Diddy's victory theme is the same as Donkey Kong's, a remix of the jingle that plays in Donkey Kong Country upon defeating a boss or completing a bonus game. Next, we have Lucas. For his left victory, Lucas pulls one of the 7 needles out of the ground before striking a pose. The 7 needles are a main focal point during Mother 3, only capable of being removed by someone who can use PK Love. For his up victory, Lucas pokes at the ground with a stick and then gets surprised by, I guess, the player looking at him? Sticks are one of Lucas's primary weapons, as evidenced by its use in his forward smash. Finally, Lucas's right victory has him twirl around some of his PSI energy with his fingers, which is of course another of Lucas's primary abilities in Mother 3. Lucas's victory theme is the same as Ness's, a medley of the final 2 of the 8 melodies in Mother 1 or Earthbound Beginnings. Next we have Sonic. Starting with his left victory screen, we see him speed past to the left and then back again to the right, before jumping back on screen and posing with a thumbs up. The sprinting back and forth is a reference to Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where a similar animation was used for the Sega logo splash screen. The thumbs up pose is just a pose that Sonic has often done in the games and in various renders. For his up victory, Sonic runs up to the blue Chaos Emerald and holds it out while posing. Collecting the Chaos Emeralds is a constant throughout the Sonic series, so it makes sense to include it in his victory screen. His right victory sees him perform a sort of breakdance move before hitting a pose with his fists clenched. The breakdance move is actually Sonic Flare, a move from the fighting game Sonic Battle for the Game Boy Advance. The final pose that Sonic hits is a common one that Sonic's been portrayed in both in artwork and in the games. Sonic's victory theme is ripped straight from Sonic 06, being the Mission Clear theme from that game. This version is itself a remix from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which also plays when a character completes an act. King Dedede's left victory pose has him slam his hammer twice before striking a pose at the camera. This animation doesn't really come from anywhere, it's just kinda King Dedede-ish. For his up victory pose, a Waddle Dee walks on screen while King Dedede smacks his big ol' belly. Again, this isn't strictly based on anything, though Waddle Dee's presence refers to King Dedede's role as the leader of most Waddle Dees. Lastly, we see King Dedede twirl his hammer before charging up his Jet Hammer. Jet Hammer debuted with Dedede in Brawl and is pretty much Smash original, with nothing in the Kirby series really matching up 1-to-1, though later Kirby titles would then use Smash's Jet Hammer for inspiration in other ways. So all that to say, this is basically Smash original. King Dedede's victory theme is the same as Kirby's, the stage clear or boss defeated theme from Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Adventure. Olimar's left victory pose sees him bend forward and back repeatedly while a red and yellow Pikmin just kinda chill right next to him. His up victory pose sees Olimar pluck a white, blue, and purple Pikmin out of the ground. They fly up in the air, then land on top of Olimar with the white and blue bouncing off and the purple crushing Olimar underneath its vast weight. Finally, the right victory screen has Olimar being circled by a red, yellow, and blue Pikmin. All 3 of these have been in Smash since Brawl, and none of them really have any kind of specific reference that I can find. They mostly just fit the characteristics of how Olimar and the Pikmin interact with each other in the Pikmin games. And lastly, Olimar's victory theme is an abridged cover of the title theme from Pikmin. Lucario's left victory screen sees him attack with Aura from his paws before striking a fighting stance, not too dissimilar from the crane stance. He also says, "Behold the power of Aura," because, you know, he can talk in the Pokemon anime and that's the inspiration for his appearance in Smash. For his up victory screen, Lucario makes a circular motion with his arms outstretched before bringing them together while saying, "The aura is with me." Finally, Lucario gets himself into another fighting position while Aura explodes out of his body. Like the other Pokemon, Lucario is kind of a mix of Smash original and inspiration from the anime, and that applies to all of his victory screens as well. And also like the other Pokemon, Lucario's victory theme is the short remix of the title theme from Generation 1 of Pokemon. For R.O.B's left victory screen, R.O.B spins his hands, then spins his arms and head before reaching up with his arms to the sky. This is largely based on R.O.B's very robotic movements in Smash, which is a creative extension of the R.O.B peripheral's very limited range of motion in real life. In R.O.B's up victory screen, he hovers using his up special while spinning around before landing. He then will spin his head while his arms mechanically chunk up and down, again a reference to the real R.O.B's very limited and slow movement. Lastly is his right victory screen, where R.O.B activates the lasers in his eyes while moving his head and clapping his hands together. The lasers in his eyes are again a creative liberty taken from Smash, based on the real R.O.B's quote-unquote eyes that were really optical sensors that detected different flashes on the screen. R.O.B's victory theme is a remix from one of 2 R.O.B compatible games for the NES, Stack Up. This song is a small jingle that would play before starting memory mode in Stack Up, and Smash has of course built upon it to make it fuller and serve as a victory theme. Toon Link's left victory screen has him conduct using the Wind Waker before striking a pose. The Wind Waker is of course the main mechanic of Toon Link's debut game, allowing him to perform different songs that each serve a different function. The pose that Toon Link hits at the climax of the victory screen is based off his appearance in his official artwork for The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Toon Link's up victory screen has him chase after a pig before hoisting it over his head, successfully capturing it. This is based on the mechanic in The Wind Waker where Toon Link can bait and capture pigs for various side quests. His right victory screen is also pig related, this time with Toon Link failing to capture a pig. This exact animation doesn't really happen in Wind Waker, but it's meant to be an over-the-top victory pose that matches up with Toon Link's personality in Smash. And Toon Link's victory theme is the same as the other Zelda characters, the remix of the Triforce Collection theme from the first Legend of Zelda game. And our final character from Brawl is Wolf. Wolf's left victory pose has him readying up his arms before striking a fighting ready pose. This is pretty similar to his render in Smash Ultimate, though we see him facing the other direction. For his up victory pose, Wolf slashes his claws before performing a kick and then hitting his pose. This seems largely Smash original as well, although the kick portion could be repurposed from his side taunt back in Brawl, where he performs 3 kicks in a similar fashion. Finally, Wolf's right victory pose has him facing away from the player before quickly striking his claws out towards the camera. This too could be inspired by Wolf's character render in Ultimate, actually facing the correct way this time. For all 3 victory poses, Wolf has a chance of saying,
"Playtime's over, Star Fox,"
if Fox was present during the match. This emphasizes the rivalry between Wolf and Fox and their respective teams in the Star Fox games. And like Fox and Falco before him, Wolf's victory theme is an abridged remix of Star Fox 64's main theme. And that is going to do it for this installment of Smash Ultimate Victory Screen Origins. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so you can see the next video in this series. That's going to do it for this video. Peace out, you guys, and please remember to be good to one another.